Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Live Daily Doses. We took the first part of the week off. Not gonna lie, it was really lovely, but we're back. So we are joined today. Michael, say your last name so I don't say it incorrectly.
It's Michael Maassel, like Mazel Tov, but
Mazel
I'm
tov.
not too. Yeah,
Okay, well, there we go. I would not have said it correctly, so I'm glad we had you do it instead. Michael's joining us from Colorado, which is, I was just reading a little section of your book talking about the mountains out your windows, and I thought, yeah, that's not the view that we have in Fargo, North Dakota.
Not really.
So we're really, really happy to have you here, Michael. Thanks for getting up early and joining us.
No, thank you for having me. Like early mornings are my jam, so I'm happy to be here.
Ours too. So it's hardly even early anymore. If you get up at like 5, by 8 o'clock, you feel like you're halfway through your day.
I know. I get more things done, but before people wake up.
Absolutely, me too. So Michael, Maz and I have both read your section of your book. Will you hold up the book, please? We ordered it as soon as we knew that you were coming
There
to
you go.
be a guest with us. So I'm going to let Maz start this conversation off because he's read the book most recently.
So
That's awesome.
if you don't, don't mention anything you don't feel comfortable with, but could you just explain your journey from how your illness developed, and how you got through therapy, and then we can talk about what you did next.
Yeah, so I'll keep it totally brief for too. Just for I won't go into like this whole log, but I'll just say it was one of those.
The details. Yes.
Oh, they do. Oh, okay. Well, then we'll give it all. So I will say.
Sorry, Michael. I said
Yeah.
people can read the book if they want all the details. So you tell us what you want to tell us.
Yeah, no, I'll just, just kind of, I feel like my story's just like almost any other drug addict or alcoholic. I always knew just from the moment, I started drinking at 13 at my first middle. So I'm like, you would think I would say high school party, but it was middle school party, at my first middle school party. It's like, right when I started drinking, I was like, that made me feel human, because I didn't feel human just as Michael. Right. And so, I was able to keep it together, generally speaking, in my younger days, because I still, going through high school, playing sports, but it was always that thing, like that alcohol. And like after, having homecoming, prom, basketball games, soccer games, like I was always thinking about it, right? Like it was something that never left my mind. And at first I was like, like that's kind of, like that's weird, but then I was like, well, it's a part of me, like it's what makes me me. And so I kept it together through high school, and then went off to college. And I think when you get away from your parents, that's when I really realized that I was different from people with my addiction. I couldn't say addiction yet, because I was like, well, everybody in college is doing it, like going out, there's always a night to drink. There's always a time to drink. So I drank all the time because that's just what people did. But I always took it a step further and made sure I always had drinks before I met up with people, or I would have more when people went to bed because I wasn't finished yet. And I was able to maintain that because I feel like I'm like, I was young, I was in my 20s. I was like, we can do this, so there wasn't really for me a lot to lose. And then, I went back home to live back in the small ski town called Telluride, Colorado. And that's where, and again, there's an excuse to drink in a mountain town. And I'm sure you guys are probably aware of, small ski towns. There's always a time to drink. You summit a 14er, you drink. You play summer softball, you drink. You have, Bloody Marys in the morning, just all the time. And so it was easy for me to continue this, addictive behavior. And because I surrounded myself with people that I thought were in the same boat, but then they could shut it off and I couldn't. And when I knew that it was a problem, quickly was when I started to not be able to hold jobs anymore. When I was with my then fiance at the time, I realized, because he also is an addict and alcoholic, and also a person in recovery now too, which is great for him. But we fueled each other. And it was one of those things where I knew, like, like I said, I started losing jobs. I was super embarrassed by it, and I couldn't talk about it, because I didn't know what to do, until like my parents and my sisters were like, please get help, like do something. And so I heard about AA. I've heard about it forever. And I remember it was on Valentine's Day in February of 2015. And my dad dropped me off at the church. I was like, great, I'm going into a church basement, whatever, so I went into this church basement, and I immediately, like, people loved me, and like just welcomed me. And I'm like, this is so weird. Like, you don't even know me, and you're hugging me. And so I did it to appease my family, to get them off my back. I lasted about 37 days, and I wasn't done drinking and drugging. I always say, like, cocaine and whiskey were my favorite best friends. And it was interesting, because like I just wanted to do it for them, and I was like, I'm not ready, you guys. Like, I can't do this if I'm not ready. So I had to go do more research. And then what the catalyst that made me realize that I needed to go to treatment and that I was ready was, fast forward from February to November, was when I was driving out to go to my sister's wedding. I was like, Michael, if you can just get out to your sister's wedding and get through this, everything will be okay. I had a seizure on the way out driving. I flatlined. I woke up in the hospital, and I was so embarrassed. I like ripped the cords out of my arms. I was like, my then fiance, I was like, get me out of here. We left, and the insanity of the disease, it's like the first thing I did was stop at a liquor store. I got home, and, a few days later, I just felt like I was dying. And I just had a very spiritual moment, laying on my floor, coming back from a liquor store. And I was like, I need help, like I was ready, you guys. And I can't fully, it was a feeling. And I knew that if I was going to do this thing, like this business of sobriety, like I had to go all in. My dad took me to treatment. I went to treatment at a beautiful place in Estes Park called the Harmony Foundation. And it was there that I was like, oh my gosh, like I can accept Michael as I am. I don't have to mask anymore. And when I got sober, you guys, it's just from then on, from December 12th of 2015 to present day, it's like I just took it and ran with it like my life depends on it, because it does. And so now, presently, my program of recovery is the 12 steps. I welcome all pathways to recovery. And, life is good. But I mean, like, my life was a dumpster on fire in the middle of a freeway, and now it's not. And I owe it to working a program of recovery.
Yeah.
I mean, you went into some really detail about, your downward spiral. I mean, you even mentioned the fact you used to set the alarm clock to wake up to drink during the night and then go back to sleep. I mean, putting that detail in your book, you really didn't hold anything back. It was hard to read, as an alcoholic myself. But you gave some fantastic detail about being in rehab, and we talked about just my journey, but it was interesting to read that. Yeah, like me, one of your favorite time of the year is Christmas, and you actually were in rehab over Christmas. I think I'm glad I didn't. It was February when I went into rehab. I'm glad I didn't spend Christmas there. And you spent your birthday in rehab as well.
As did you.
Yeah. Well, I went into rehab on my birthday, so I didn't spend my birthday in rehab. So that was an interesting story. But can you talk more about so you had you referred to it as the effect letters. I didn't actually do that. My counselor got Dana in to talk to my group. So it's the same thing. But if you are willing, can you talk about the effect letters and what they actually are and how they helped you?
Yeah. So what I didn't know that was going to happen in treatment, you guys, was that what they do up at Harmony's, they have family members, if they want to, they write what they call effects letters. And these letters are letters that my family members were able to write to me to let me know how my addiction and drug and alcohol use was affecting them. And what was great about these letters is, so my mom, my dad, both my sisters, and my aunt wrote these letters to me. And I have to sit, and what in treatment is I sit there and I read these letters out loud to the group of women that I'm in treatment with, for support, to be able to actually read them out loud, to feel my feelings, to cry it out, and to really understand that my ism doesn't just affect me. It was really affecting people closest to me on levels that I had no idea.
Yeah.
Because in my active disease, I was selfish. I mean, let's be real. I'm still selfish to a degree. I'm an addict and an alcoholic, but when I heard that, and the fact that, I commend my family and for being able to write those letters to really, portray and paint a really visceral picture of the pain, that really kind of set me on fire even more, to be like, I don't ever want to make people feel the way my family members felt with these letters. And so that's why I also put them in the book, because I really wanted to hit home that, we really do so much more damage than we're really aware of because of the fog we're in.
First of all, let me apologize, Michael. Our 1,000-year-old dog decided she had to go out and then had to come in. So I'm sorry.
Yes,
I don't normally hop up out and about while people are telling this really intimate story.
We were having a very old golden retriever emergency. But
yeah,
it's all good now.
Sorry.
You're having a moment. No, I'm just kidding.
We were at your expense, so I apologize.
Yeah.
I really appreciated that section, because I think what it does for people who maybe have not lived either as an addict or intimately with someone struggling with addiction is it's really hard to understand what that ripple effect of addiction looks like for the people living with it, because we all do such, depending on how you want to look at it, either an extraordinary or terrible job of hiding it from everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're living in this home, your sisters, your parents are watching this decline, and to everybody else, things look like, boy, something's like, Michael sure loves to party, but they don't really understand the damage that is being done, the heartbreak that is occurring for people watching it who know what's happening. So I so appreciated that, because I guess I can say, as the spouse, I didn't even really understand the damage that was happening to me, around me, with me, until I was able to step away from it, till Maz went into treatment, and I was sort of gifted with the opportunity to reflect on it too. It's, you talk about being selfish as an addict, and there's no question, it is a self-consuming disease.
Oh, yeah.
But that self-consumption becomes part of everybody's story, because we become as consumed with keeping everything running, operating, going smoothly so that nobody else knows about it. That is maybe one of the most damaging and difficult aspects of it for everybody. Everybody's playing the game to keep the addict's story a secret.
Oh yeah.
It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. Yes, I love that you said that word. It's exhausting.
Yeah, and I've never really thought about it until right now, that I didn't understand that I was playing the game either. That I was as self-consumed by it as Maz was. I never have thought about it that way. So I really appreciate that you made that a piece of the story, and that Maz brought it up, because that's a super important insight for those of us who live with it. And it's just another one of the damaging effects of working so hard to hide this.
Oh, it's it takes so much more energy than we're aware of until we release that energy. It's like I had no idea how much energy it consumed.
You know, I will liken it to this. I often think, you know, you'll hear about like a huge hack of data in some sort of, you know, 57 layers of encryption, and somehow some hackers somewhere in the world have gotten through it. And I often think, you know, if those hackers could channel all of that energy and intelligence into something positive instead of something negative, think what they could accomplish. And the same is true of addiction. If those of us who live with it in any form could channel all the energy we put into letting everyone else know that it's no problem, think what we could accomplish.
Oh,
It's just incredible.
it lights me up. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, clearly, I mean, you've written a book.
I
You
know.
accomplished that. You work with addicts today. So look what you have done with all the energy you were at one point wasting. Now you've channeled it towards positivity, keeping yourself sober, helping other people be sober, both in person and through your writing. That's one example. You're another. I mean, Daily Dose is an example of all the energy that went into lying and hiding and shame. We now put into lifting up, finding, sharing, and it's half the energy for infinitely more benefit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so much more greater positive impact too.
Absolutely. So, do you have another question, or can I ask one?
I just got one.
Yeah,
So
go.
you went into rehab, and you, like I said, this book's really interesting because you just told it how it is. I never really mentioned any of this. There were people when I was in rehab that annoyed the hell out of me because they didn't take it seriously, and you just blatantly wrote down how annoying those people were to you because they were affecting you.
Yeah.
I was worried with these people that it was affecting my ability to work out that I needed this because I wanted to be sober.
Yeah.
I mean, you made a good deal out, an interesting deal about the fact that you yelled at them, put them in their place.
Oh, it was, yeah.
So
I've got to say, it was one of those things where, because I was serious about it, like I knew the repercussions. Like I was like, I already flatlined, like I already died essentially. And like when I was in treatment, and there were chicks in there that could give two hoots that their parents remortgaged their house. Sorry, refinance their house to have them in treatment, and they don't give a crap. You know, I was like, you have no idea. And I'm like, you are. And then like when I exploded on one chick that in the story, and to be honest, she's not sober, like, and that's what happens, and like sometimes people just aren't ready, but it's like, man, to waste that gift. And and I can't be mad at them, and I can't, like, I wish them well, but in the moment, like, being newly sober, I could not wish them well. I could not, because I was like, I'm trying to stay alive here, and all you care about is how many Skittles you're going to eat and how you look when you see the guys in the dining hall, yeah, it was hard, but it was also that motivation that I was like, you are the person I don't want to be.
Yeah.
You actually answered the question I was going to answer. So I'm going to. So what was useful to me is I wasn't the one that exploded, but someone else did, and they said everything I wanted to say, but I was kind of too dazed and confused to say it. So you probably gave other people there a nice vent for them to think, yes, Michael knows what's going on. I'm going to be more like Michael. But it's true. You can actually start spotting people who aren't going to make it. In fact, I was getting advice off a couple of people who actually fell apart. I was supposed to graduate from treatment with one person who the night before messed up completely. Someone smuggled in something and he took it.
I know. It's
it's really
and
incredible.
I think this was his third or fourth time through rehab as well. Yeah. And it is unfortunate, that we talk about how, the serenity prayer is for the alcoholic that still suffers. So it is sad to see that it doesn't work for everyone as well. You're kind of grateful that it worked for you, but you can feel sad for someone it doesn't work for. But for people who didn't care, like the people you were talking about with the Skittles, I feel the same way. You were given a gift, you threw that away too.
Yeah.
What hope is there for you?
So you went to treatment at Harmony, and now you work at Harmony.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that, because your program is compelling to me. First of all, I understand location is pretty irrelevant in terms of working through sobriety, but there must be something pretty remarkable about working to get sober in Estes Park, Colorado. I mean, that just feels like, if nothing else, at least when you wake up every day, you have the beauty of your environment, which isn't what I want you to talk about. But talk about the treatment that you are now part of for other people.
Oh, I'm like, oh God, I'm like gonna get all emotional because it's just so amazing how it all worked out, and I'm grateful for it. And it's so funny because you guys, like when I left Harmony, I told myself, like, I just knew, I was like, I'm going to work here someday. Like, I don't know how or when or how it's, why, but I'm like, it's going to happen. And so it happened, and it happened in the most beautiful way possible. About 3 years ago. So I've been with Harmony for about 3 years. And so the work that I get to do up on campus and then off campus is I work with the alumni. So I'm the director of alumni and recovery support services for the Harmony Foundation. And why I love what I get to do, you guys, is I work with the people that want to be sober. Like, it's one thing when you're in treatment, sometimes people don't know if they want it and they're figuring it out. But what I love is, like, I kind of look at it as like up on campus, like that's where the hardcore surgery is. Like, we're ripping them open, we're getting all the crap out, we're figuring it out, and then we're sewing them back together. And then I'm like post-op, like I get to help you heal. I get to help you find the tools to be able to, whether it's like, if people are walking again, like getting sober and living. And so and what I love about it too is the relatability that I have with these humans, because at its core, even though I'm in this role, I am these humans. I am a Harmony alum. I am your peer. And so I love being able to share my story with them to say, hey, like, you can live this sober life. And to be able to connect them to community, to be able to show them that, hey, it's gonna be awkward and it's gonna be weird, but that's okay, because like, we're not gonna die.
Yeah.
And so I love it. The beautiful part is also of the job I get to do with alumni programming is bringing alumni back to campus to inspire the current clients to say, hey, I was just here 2 months ago, and I'm alive and I'm doing this, and you can do it too. And it's like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's like, I always just tell these people, you guys, I'm like, if I could just put my hand on your heart and just show you what is possible, like, you would cry, because it's just like, I know it's so cheesy, and then I'll shut up, but like when they say a life beyond your wildest dreams, it's like that shit is real. Like you can have a life beyond your wildest dreams. And all you have to do is stay connected. And I'm like, and we provide that. Like, I get to provide this community for these humans. And I'm like, it's so it's amazing.
More, Michael.
Yeah.
You have to step up to that, because I'm concerned that you're not really all in.
So, I mean, this is another question I had for you. You did mention too, the FOMO, or the fear of missing out. Clearly, you express that in your job to people. But for me, and hopefully, I'd like to hear your part, how it worked out for you. But I felt when I first got out of rehab that I was now boring as dirt and was the equivalent of talking to an accountant.
Oh, poor accountants. They get such a short shrift on.
I know. I'm sorry.
It took me a while to realize that why people were actually looking forward to meeting with me was because now I was actually more interesting, because I spoke coherently and my conversations had some form of logic to them, and I was actually an interesting person without being half drunk all the time.
Yeah.
So how was that for you?
Oh, I'm like, I love that you said that, because like, really, Marty, like, it's like I had FOMO drinking, and it took me probably a couple years into sobriety to realize, like, I was actually missing out when I was drinking and drugging, because I didn't remember the weddings. I didn't remember playing softball. I wasn't present. So like I that's when I was missing out, but I couldn't see that until I got some time under my belt, because I literally thought that I was boring. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be this 30-year-old woman that just Netflix and chills and eats copious amounts of ice cream. And I'm never going to date or find like my husband, and such is life. Yay, I'm sober. I'm not going to like hurt anybody, but I'm not going to like be anybody, and it's like quite the opposite. It's like I have so much more fun being sober, because like you said, I can have conversations and people want to be around me. And more so, I can have conversations with people and like show up and actually be there for people. But also just with like my friends in recovery, like I can have real, like deep, like ridiculously like awesome conversations. And I missed out on like, and sometimes like I don't have regrets, but like I'll get sad looking at like, man, like all these conversations that I thought when I was drinking and using were so deep and, valuable. And I'm like, I don't remember shit, and I'm like, I'm so sorry if the people I was talking to thought that there was a really great conversation.
I promise you, they probably didn't.
Yeah, Dana has experienced a few of these. So.
Yeah.
So yes, I feel you, Marty.
Receiving end. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was experience.
One of the things that I think is so interesting from an outside perspective is that almost to a person, our guests talk about, feeling insecure. And so drinking was what helped them feel comfortable in a party or meeting new people or whatever. And that's kind of how it started, because they didn't feel like they belonged, or they didn't fit in their skin, or all of that insecurity that you talked about too quickly. And what I think is so remarkable, and what I would love to know more about it, and I don't necessarily think you can answer this, Michael, although you might have a thought on it, is what I want to say to all of you is, well, get in line. Like, do people think that those of us who aren't addicts walk into a new room and go, hello, who wants to meet me? Like, I'm in new environments. I'm uncomfortable meeting people who I think are, bigger deal than I am. I feel uncomfortable in my own skin all the time. But it never, ever one time in my life has dawned on me to think, what would make me be better in this moment? Being drunk. So it's just
I love that you said that. Like I am so excited that you said that, because because we don't think, well, I'll speak for myself. Like I did not know that you felt that way. Yeah. I was like, that's easy for them. Like they got the easy ticket to life. Like they can, they can go and socialize and do all these things. Like I'm the one, I just love that you said that, because it's like that validation to say, hey, like, like we're all the same at some degree. We are all the same, like our solution just wasn't the best solution to feeling better.
Absolutely. And you know what? Many of mine haven't been great either. So I'm not saying, boy, you guys made the wrong choice and I made the right choice. There's never a right choice when you're uncomfortable, because they're all challenging. Some of them just have much, much more significant ramifications to them. Like I've not flatlined over insecurity. There's a big difference.
There are one member of one of my AA groups pointed this out, and we've talked about it before. If you think about the promises too, only one of them's about not drinking. The others are just great advice of how to live your life. Anyone can follow them.
Yes,
we did early in Daily Dose. We went through the 12 promises because I'd never seen them. I didn't know anything about AA until Maz went. And when I read them one day in the car, I said to him, my gosh, how come I don't have access to these?
They're great advice.
AA in so many ways, set aside maybe the very religious piece of it, because I know that doesn't resonate for a lot of people. It doesn't really resonate for me, but in so many ways, the qualities of AA, the mindfulness of it, the just being present of it, we should all be in AA. every
Oh.
single human being, because we could all benefit from that
Yeah.
stuff.
Dude, I love that you said it's funny because so I have an identical twin sister who is normal. Well, I mean, you know, relatively, let's be real. Sorry, Casey, if you're watching this. But you know, she actually, what was so cool is when I got sober, she was like, Michael, like, can I have a big book? Can I have your 12 by 12? Because she was like, I like everything that you're doing are things that I want to do. Like, I want this blueprint, minus the drinking part of it, like, but she found, and a lot of my other friends that aren't alcoholics found and continue to find so much value in like in like just the mindfulness and just like being able to make amends and like in the daily inventories. And it's like it's a beautiful design. I feel like anybody can take the bits and pieces from it and implement it into their lives.
I couldn't agree
And
more.
also, if you think about it, it was ideas put down in the 1930s by a doctor and a door-to-door salesman who just wanted to stay alive.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really impressive that it has done what it's done. Because you're right, it doesn't work for everyone, but boy, it works for a lot of people. And I will say, as the spouse of someone for whom it worked, I am grateful every day for it. It's just incredible.
So, Michael, you also mentioned clearly you went back and gave what I got out of AA helped me. I kept my job, but I like to, at least I like to think, in the last 4 years, I got better at my job for being the gift of sobriety. But I actually thought this, and you had the balls to write it down in your book. I was happy that my counselors were also former addicts. And clearly that's what worked with you. Do you think, now that you work at a recovery center, do you hear that a lot? And how many of your counselors are actually recovering alcoholics or recovered alcoholics?
Yeah. It's a great question, and I will say, so there, like, we have powerful therapists in Harmony, and the ones that aren't in recovery still, they do an amazing job with our clients. Amazing, but I will always throw this caveat in. It is the counselors that we have too, that have been through the 12 steps or are in recovery, that there's just a little less of a barrier for honesty and vulnerability with clients.
Yeah.
And it's just, and that's just, and it's just because of that, again, that relatability. And I just, and I think like, and I can honestly say, like, if my counselor wasn't a recovering alcoholic at Harmony, like, I don't know that if I would be sober. I don't know if like the trajectory would have changed, because like the last thing I wanted was to have somebody tell me that this is how it has to be, or this is, what you should do, when they have no idea what's going on in between my ears, and they, like, they haven't walked the walk. I really believe when it comes to people getting sober, when they surround themselves with people with lived experience, that it's a game changer. And I'm not saying that that has to be the way. I think that but I do think that there's something to be said for that.
I think that's probably true. I mean, if I'm going to go work with somebody in any field who doesn't have lived experience in the field, it is harder to trust it, because there's a big difference between having an academic intellectual comprehension of something and having lived through it and overcome it. I mean, that's probably the important piece, is the overcoming.
Yeah.
Because we can all, I mean, almost to a person, you can find someone who can say, yeah, you know what, that one time I was drunk, I was out of control, I don't remember. A lot of people have that experience who didn't fall into alcoholism, but it's the lived experience of climbing out of addiction that's got to be so, so powerful, and something that those of us who haven't had to do just can't pretend we've done. We can't pretend we understand the visceral physical work and the emotional work that has to go into that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Michael, this has been a delight.
Yes, thank you. It was fantastic to meet you.
Oh, it's so nice to meet you guys. And I'm so grateful that, that David came on your show, and I loved watching his piece with you guys. And I'm just grateful that you guys are doing this. So I appreciate you guys and your time today too.
Thank you. We will share your book far and wide, and we'll put links up to all of the things that you're related to on the site today. And we'll, you know, if we're ever in the area of Colorado, we'll stop by and say hello in person.
Oh my gosh, that would be awesome, you guys.
Well,
Thank you
if
guys
are
so
there
much.
And you want an external speaker to talk to people in treatment, you let me know.
Absolutely.
Oh, we are always looking for speakers on Saturday nights, so you can make it a weekend.
Well, we're always up for traveling. So we'll be in touch. Thanks so much, Michael.
Fantastic to meet you, and thank you for sharing your story.
And best of luck.
Best of luck with everything.
Thanks.
Thank you
Everybody
guys.
else, we'll see you tomorrow at 8:30.
Bye.
Bye-bye.